China is poor again, including Hong Kong City of the Guangdong Province. Collective return to poverty for the Chinese, including Zhongshanshan, by Summer River East Crossing. Many years ago, the former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton once made a very depressing remark. At that time, it caused a stir among all netizens in China, and a crusade with all the official media. She once said that China would become the poorest country in the world in 20 years. When I heard this, I also scoffed because, when Hillary said this, it was 2012. We all know that 2012 was when China's economy was at its peak, and 2012 was the last year of the Hu Wen era. I remember very clearly that time, about the Cultural Revolution, Mao, the Gang of Four, and our views on various historical problems of the Communist Party of China, CCP. Basically, it could be discussed openly on Sina Weibo. You could even name names. So, at that time, I was young and there was a little foolishness in me, and as firmly as 1.4 billion compatriots, I believed that Hillary Clinton's prediction was bound to be a big joke in history. Then the time came to 2018. Xi Jinping ended his first term and began to reveal his fangs and ambitions for lifelong rule. He set off a huge wave of beating the rich and dividing the land, Cultural Revolution styled, all over the country. Just when this bloody wave was surging, I told my friends in private, "Do you remember 6 years ago? Hillary once said that China would become the poorest country in the world in 20 years. My friend, who was sitting in a private box of a restaurant at that time with 4 or 5 of our own friends, adjusted his expression. Then he said to the waitress very calmly, 'Oh, go ahead.' Then, he said to me, very cautiously, 'Can you avoid outsiders when you say things like that? Look, people are walking about here and there. What if you are recorded?' I smiled and said to him, 'Look, you are scared, aren't you? You are not afraid of people recording me. You are afraid that others will record you, because you are more famous, richer, and more important than I am. You seem so scared. Your fear proves that you also have some belief in the result Hillary predicted.' At this point, the other friends at the table began to interrupt. They said, 'No way, I am telling you, in any case, the check and balance mechanism in our party, meaning the CCP, is still very strong, etc., etc.' However, I insisted that Xi Jinping has possibly been dragging Chinese society into a great abyss these years. Every Chinese who understands the need to be vigilant must think of the worst outcome in advance, and be a little pessimistic, because when you are pessimistic enough, even if the reality is not as cruel as you think, that's all a surprise. Conversely, if you kept brainwashing yourself with madness and instinctively believed those lies, if you didn't have any objective and rational analysis to believe these lies, just because everyone said so, if your judgment of a society and your understanding of your own destiny were supported by only 2 words, chance it, then you would get the real disastrous surprise. Ladies and gentlemen, counting back, it's been 6 years since 2018. Back then, the vast majority of Chinese people didn't believe that China would continue to regress, that China's economy would fall apart, that the laws of China would be in vain, and that freedom of speech in China would drop to freezing point. What's more, the majority of Chinese people could not believe that Xi Jinping would successfully amend the constitution to restore China to monarchy. So, in the past 6 years, everyone has had to gradually believe that these once absurd, extremely exaggerated social rumors, piles full of negative energy, have now all become reality, visible to the naked eye. You can't even escape. What you once thought of as a great power in Grand China is fleeting. The profligate Chinese who used to spend lavishly around the world have long since disappeared. The once luxurious places full of people are now deserted. What is left for China is one ghost city after another. You used to think no matter how the years change, there can never be a decline in the prime locations of Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Now the property prices there all have 50% discount, but yet no one cares. Over the years, so many people have quarreled with me over the word house. We even blocked each other on social media, and they broke up with me. What have I done to deserve that? I didn't make any personal attacks. I just told them firmly that even those prime locations in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen which you had kept talking about would eventually fall. As recent as a mere year or two ago, there were still many such friends who stubbornly continued to think that the workings of my mind approached being conspiracy theories. They warned me that I shouldn't entertain those negative and unhealthy thoughts. In the face of such doubts, what can you do? The only thing you can do is silently delete them and avoid any more conversations. As for the direction of the economy, let time give the most objective answer. When the truth comes, people have to face it. When the tide goes out, those who swim naked can no longer pretend to float. Just like when the late former Premier Li Keqiang said in the Congress that 600 million Chinese people have a monthly income of less than 1,000, it caused an uproar nationwide. Many firmly believed it was impossible, citing very abstract cases to prove that everyone around them is very rich. Then, just last year, Chinese economists pointed out that 900 million people have a monthly income of less than 2,000. Yet many still resisted, still dreaming. To them, as long as real data is not published, the real world will not come. But this year, when the slogan went viral, young people in China returned to the era of 3,000 yuan again. Even the little pink, so-called patriotic, had to sigh and agree. What does the slogan mean? The figure of 3,000 yuan, a monthly salary. For a long time in the past, people scoffed at it. That was something people disdained. People would reject it instinctively without thinking. However, the real environment in China today is such. Even a 3,000 yuan job is an income that requires competition to get in most cities. I pessimistically believe that even earning merely 3,000 yuan a month is still not the bottom line of endurance for the Chinese people. Then, what is the bottom line for the Chinese? I believe there is no bottom line. A friend once discussed with me how unarmed Chinese can overthrow this demonic system. Do they have to use their bodies to block bullets and shells? Of course not. That is unrealistic and will never happen, because the Chinese ability to endure torture and suffering has no bottom line. But we also have to objectively admit a fact. That is, by 2024, everyone in China has begun to awaken consciously through their hungry bellies. It has been felt that society is rapidly declining and the economy is collapsing. I think this is what I truly feel now. Even if you knock on the door of a middle-aged woman from an ordinary family in the country and talk to her, she also knows that houses or properties all over the country have no buyers now. If you invited all the successful people from the past and big brothers of society to drink some beer and have kebabs again, and asked them about the current situation in recent years, I'm sure they would be full of lament, even burst into tears. It is not what it used to be, they would say. It's hard, really hard. Not only is life difficult for the poor, the life of the rich is even more difficult. Next, I will list a group of real data that you don't want to hear and you will feel more uncomfortable after you hear it. By 2022, among the Chinese people with personal assets exceeding 100 million yuan, 27% have already completed the immigration process. Another 47% are going through the immigration process. That is, 70% of China's billionaires are already on the road. Dropping down one more level, those with personal assets exceeding 10 million, whom we collectively call high net worth people. In the 3 years from 2020 to 2023, can you guess what percentage are preparing to emigrate? I will tell you a very scary number, 60%. More than 70% of the billionaires have gone. 60% of millionaires are leaving. What's the rest? What's left is a growing number of online Boxer rebellion. The new cultural revolution is becoming more and more intense. The land of China, where Xi Jinping's dream of becoming a militarist power, is being further implemented. The people who stay should cherish the long-awaited and finally realized splendor of China. Your good days are yet to come. Recently, I have paid attention to an old place, Hong Kong, or call it China Hong Kong, or Guangdong Province Hong Kong City, or Shenzhen Hong Kong District. Facing the ruins of this once glorious financial center, what do I see? What I saw was, at the end of February, the Hong Kong government abolished the policy of paying taxes on house purchases by new residents. In the past, non-permanent residents of Hong Kong had to pay a 30% tax to buy a house in Hong Kong, but now, this policy has been completely cancelled. We all know that in 2023, Hong Kong property market transaction volume hit a historical low. Countless local residents who own property in Hong Kong have fallen into deep thinking. That is, this is basically all of my family assets, and I need to sell this family asset to emigrate to the West. How can I take this money and run? Sell at a reduced price. But there is a price, but no market. In today's Hong Kong, there is no freedom of press, no freedom of speech, no judicial independence. The national security law has been deeply implemented, and educational reforms prepared. I doubt that, as far as the CCP is concerned, there will remain a Hong Kong Special Administrative Region in the future. If you ask, when will, in the real sense, Hong Kong become just an ordinary city of Guangdong Province, I think it is just around the corner. I don't think it will take more than 10 years. What will be the business environment of Hong Kong in the future? I think you can make reference to the business environment in Guangdong Province today. In fact, making reference to the business environment of Guangdong Province, you are just referring to the business environment in China today. Why does international capital hear the word China and begin to run away in fear? Because the whole world has discovered a truth. CCP headed by the devil Xi Jinping doesn't need foreign capital to make money at all. He only needs foreign capital to send him money. Then who would not run? In 2024, whaling has become a collective decibel of the Chinese people. To observe the business environment, you only need to pay attention to the people at the top of the pyramid, who can be called the pyramid of doing business. Let's take a look at the richest men in China in the last several decades. All of us should take a look at the whereabouts and trajectory of Li Ka-shing, Hong Kong's richest man. People in their 50s and 60s should think about this. Can you find one of those former richest men in China now? Their names have become blurred now, and they seem to have all disappeared. People in their 30s and 40s. Can you still find any news about Wang Kuangyu of the gum retail? Young people in their 20s, please take a look at the richest man in China, Zhong Shanshan, who you are criticizing at the moment. Yes, the chairman of Nongfu Spring. How he was able to get to where he is today in such a short period of time, mere 3 weeks, is beyond me. Have you been paying attention to how Zhong Shanshan was criticized, pushed down, cleaned up and repaired? The CCP has an unwritten, natural law, that is, to destroy all the richest people. Not only do they have to kill the richest people, who like to talk very much, such as Jack Ma, it is also necessary to destroy the richest man keeping a low profile, and hidden in the crowd like Zhong Shanshan. Do you really believe that in today's China, one could end well by making a fortune quietly? If killing China's richest men is like the pig-killing dish fixed on the Chinese New Year table every year, don't worry whether the pig is fat or not. The New Year's Eve dinner has to be eaten. Finally, I would like to say something to those Chinese compatriots who spit on Zhong Shanshan and boycott Nongfu Spring every day. If the fate of Zhong Shanshan, the most low-key and richest man in China, ends like that, then what will be the end of your fate?
Thank you for watching the pick of the world's best thinking channel. I will see you again in the next program.